in Tarkovsky's earlier films, you see a tendency to either kind of go all in on realism or to go all in on lyricism and impressionism. And so the all in on realism, actually, well, this theory doesn't even really hold up from the beginning in a certain sense, in that he's always kind of bouncing between the two. Ivan's Childhood, his first film, is like, very realistic, and it also plays with lyricism. Andrei Rublev is this like plunge into kind of historical realism with aspects of lyricism, but it's a much more realist focused work. You could even say that about Solaris, even though it's a science fiction film, it's this very realist kind of science fiction film. And then from his next film, from the mid-70s onwards, Mirror, up until the end, up until The Sacrifice, it's kind of all about impressionism, images and montage working more in a more impressionistic way, to repeat myself. Sacrifice kind of stops that cold in its tracks from the beginning, because it's actually the way I would put it is that it's playing with the aspect of kind of the modern artistic crisis of, kind of trying to reach for something more real, but doing it through the exposing of the artifice, doing it through seeing the structure, seeing the construct for what it is. He's very much operating in that mode, I think, from the very first frame. And to sort of illustrate that, I want to just walk through that opening shot, because I think it's a really extraordinary example of someone kind of working through different formal concerns. But in that opening shot, which starts at the seaside and then eventually moves, inland into the grassland, we have this very kind of stuffy literary, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just this very kind of like high toned, this is a film of ideas. This is characters who are intellectuals who are coming from different ends. This dialogue with Otto, where they're talking about these, you're plunged right into this kind of space where you're trying to get your bearings, and it's very hard to kind of to get those bearings, but at the same time, and this becomes clear on repeat viewings, every line spoken is actually kind of telling you something about the characters. But what's interesting is that we go from this like kind of this sort of this dialectical conversation, at the same time the camera's moving. There's two things that are happening that can only happen in a film. First is obviously, the camera is moving in a certain way, tracking with the characters. Now, we'll come back to that in a second. But before that, there's also the aspect of the little boy. And so little man is played by, like a 5 or 6 year old boy. Obviously you can't, hone a child's performance to be exactly, a director can never like hone a child's performance to be exactly what he wants it to be. And there's always going to be some aspect of contingency, of accident happening. And Tarkovsky, you can totally see him working with that in this scene as this conversation unfolds. And as they're walking away from the water, Alexander has his son. He's like, "Oh, you forgot your rope. Go get your toy rope." So the boy runs out of frame. And that's a very interesting thing, because right in the middle of this, again, very theatrical kind of dialogue, all of a sudden Tarkovsky's made room for the inbreaking of realism. Like he's left something that's completely, it's within his control to a certain extent, but it's not completely within his control the way that like a theatrical dialogue is. And so now we have this kind of suspense where it's like there's this third agent. We have our two actors, and then we have our child. And that creates this like incredible kind of suspense, because that child, even if he's following what he's told to do, is still going to be there's going to be some accidental aspect there that's always impacting the scene. And you see this play out through the rest of the scene. Even though the child is following, what he's supposed to be doing, there's still that aspect. Again, there's this aspect of the unknown, of the uncanny, of just something unexpected could happen, even within the framework of something that's like very, very tightly scripted and directed. And that tension, I think, runs through the whole film, even through the even stagier, more theatrical parts in the house. Like there's this constant kind of back and forth between Tarkovsky leaning into the modern, like self-aware tradition, but then also creating these like entry points for the shock, creating these entry points for the eruption of something that cannot be controlled. And then gradually that starts to, I won't say it takes over the film, but I guess you could say really that it does. I guess it does take over the film in the sense that the finale of the film is, burning down a structure in one take that can't be controlled beyond a certain point. So I don't know. Again, that's just, to me, there's something very interesting going on with, he's not simply playing into this like modern Brechtian kind of like, self-aware dramatic tradition. Like he's constantly doing cinematic things with the film form to like create the space for the unexpected, for the real to break through. And I don't think you see that to the same extent in any of his other films. They all kind of lean one way or the other and commit to lyricism or commit to realism. But this one is just like caught in this tension between the two. And that's one thing that makes it, I think, absolutely fascinating to experience, and frustrating too, because it's very hard to kind of settle down into a pattern, because the pattern is constantly changing, I guess. So I'm curious to get I'm curious what you guys make of that.
Well, no, that puts it very, very well. I think that describes what I was trying to describe in like my broken and not very successful way. That puts a much better description on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned that the boy going off screen to get his rope and then come back on as the camera kind of continues to move left, it also, touches on that, that's the sculpting in time aspect, as Tarkovsky called it, the art of cinema being, I haven't read the whole book, but my impression is he talks about the art of cinema is unique in its ability to work with time as a medium. And so when you have these moments like him going off screen and coming back in, or later on when just these little things that people have to do, like when they're about to leave the house to go on a walk at the end of the film, and they send the maid Julia back in to get little man or to look for him, and it doesn't really amount to anything, but it's just one of these little detours or things that make you feel the passage of time in a more like concrete way somehow. Or
even with the camera in the opening shot, the camera eventually the very slow, I shouldn't say not very, very slowly, because it's not that long a shot, but slow enough to not perceive that the camera and the characters are actually getting closer to each other. Like you can sort of generally get it, but all of a sudden, at some point, they're actually going to cross each other's paths, and the characters are walking on a diagonal angle to the camera's path that is so gentle that all of a sudden, it's just to me, it's an extraordinary effect of realizing like great. We are about to convert. We audience, our perspective, we are converging with these characters. We're about to collide, and he does it in.
It's our first time really seeing them up close and seeing their faces.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it, except that it's a remarkable, not simply an effect, because it's just a remarkable feat. That there's something there that he's trying to show us, that only film can do,
Right.
And he's not trying to, not like many who would use long takes or whatever. He's not trying to show off.